For pretty much all of history, learning has been a one-way street. A book speaks at you, a professor lectures to you. But what if it could be a conversation? So that's what we're going to dive into today. This massive shift from just reading static pages to having synced interactive conversations where we don't just get information, we actually engage with it. And really, it all kicks off with this pretty bold statement right here. This isn't just some catchy marketing tagline, right? It's a whole philosophy. It's the core belief behind a platform that's arguing the future of learning isn't buried in a book, but found in a real back-and-forth dialogue. Okay, so before we can really get what's new and exciting, we kind of have to look at what's being left behind. Let's talk about what we can call the static age, this whole era of passive learning that, as we're about to see, just isn't designed for how our brains are actually wired to learn. I mean, it doesn't get much clearer than that, does it? This is basically a declaration that the old way of just sitting there and listening, it's just not cutting it anymore. The message is loud and clear. Education is long overdue for a serious upgrade. And this, right here, just lays it all out perfectly. Over on the left, you've got the old way, the static PDFs, the long lectures that, let's be honest, can put you right to sleep. But then on the right, you see what science tells us our brains actually need. Active recall, real engagement. It's the difference between watching the game from the sidelines and actually being on the field playing. All right, so if old school is done, then what's the new school? This is where we get to the really cool part. Let's meet the platform that's actually making this whole talking to intelligence thing a reality. So what exactly is EduCircle? Well, it's not just another app with flashcards or a library of pre-recorded videos. The whole thing, its entire DNA, is built around you having actual voice conversations with an AI tutor in real time. You talk, it talks back, pushing you, quizzing you, and helping you learn on the spot. And the way it works? Super simple. First, you can make your own custom voice bots for literally any subject you can think of. Then, you just practice, whenever, wherever. And the AI, it responds instantly. No delays, no waiting for an email back, just a seamless conversation. And this is a huge deal, right? The availability. Learning doesn't follow a neat 9-to-5 schedule. You know when you're studying late and a question just pops into your head at like 2 in the morning? Well, your AI tutor is there, ready to go. And I think the pricing model is pretty smart too. There's no monthly subscription that you set and forget. It's just a simple pay-as-you-go deal. It feels really fair. And clearly, it's catching on because thousands of students are already on board and using it. Okay, so this is a seriously impressive platform. But it makes you wonder, right? An AI that's this quick, a system this slick, this kind of thing doesn't just happen. It doesn't just appear out of thin air. So who's the intelligence behind this intelligence? All right, it's time to pull back the curtain, because behind every really cool piece of software, there's a builder, an architect. And in this case, it's a digital powerhouse that's all about engineering what's next. And that name is Sarsa. What they do, their whole thing, is take these huge, ambitious, complex ideas, like EduCircle, and turn them into smooth, real-world applications that just work. And this is basically their entire philosophy in 3 words. Build, scale, dominate. This tells you they're not just thinking about writing a bit of code. They're thinking about building something that can grow, take over a market, and just flat out win. It's a mindset. So to put it simply, what is Sarsa? Think of them as the engine room for ambitious startups. They handle all the messy, complicated code stuff and transform it into these polished, seamless software experiences that users love and that businesses need to actually grow. Okay, so we've got the product, EduCircle, and we've got the engineers, Sarsa. Now let's put it all together. We're going to look at what Sarsa promises to do and then see exactly how that plays out in how EduCircle actually performs. First up is their promise of speed. And they don't just say fast, they say blazing fast. Because let's face it, in today's world, any kind of lag is an absolute killer for user experience, and Sarsa gets that. Performance is everything. And here's exactly how you see that promise in action. They've built this battle-tested architecture, which is just a fancy way of saying it's super robust and incredibly efficient. That's why EduCircle's AI can respond in an instant. For a conversation-based app, even a tiny delay would ruin the whole thing. Sarsa's work makes sure it feels totally natural. Okay, next promise, clean UI/UX. This is them saying that how an app looks and feels is every bit as important as the code running underneath. They're actively trying to avoid what they call the sea of generic sites, and you can feel that. And you can totally see this with EduCircle. The layout is clean, navigation is super intuitive, and that's not an accident. STARS's focus on a pixel-perfect interface means they cut out all the clutter. It makes this really powerful AI feel easy to use and not intimidating at all for new students. All right, the last piece of their blueprint, scalable ops. It's one thing to build something that works for 10 people, but building something that can grow to 10 times million without falling apart, that is a whole different ballgame. And this right here is the magic that happens behind the curtain. The reason EduCircle can handle thousands of students right now is because of Sours's powerful cloud infrastructure. It's built from the ground up to handle massive growth. So whether it's 10 users or 10 million, the platform just keeps on working. Okay, let's zoom out for a second here. What we've been looking at isn't just a story about one cool app and its developer. It's really a blueprint for how the next generation of game-changing tools are actually getting made. Sarza likes to ask this question, ready to disrupt? And it's the perfect way to think about this whole story, because this isn't really just about a new way to study. It's about how focused, expert engineering can completely shake up a massive industry. And that, of course, leaves us with one last big question to think about. We've just seen how a great idea, when paired with world-class engineering, can totally re-engineer something as fundamental as learning. So it makes you wonder, what's next? What other part of our everyday lives is just waiting for the right code to be completely reinvented?